It's everything to me. This is where I grew up. This is where I met some of my lifelong friends. You know, I learned so much about not just theater, but just being an adult and dealing with commitments and responsibilities and things like that. It's everything to me.
Oh, it's just a wonderful thing to have in Youngstown. It's a wonderful place for opportunity for young aspiring actors and actresses. And I think we should be proud to have it here in Youngstown. I really do.
Okay. The passing of John Abbey affected the Playhouse deeply. Not only was he a renowned actor at the theater, having played many memorable roles on stage, but he was also one of the best ambassadors that the Youngstown Playhouse ever had. Noted for a gruff demeanor, Abbey's heart was fully devoted to his beloved Playhouse. Abbey isn't the only loss around that time. Gerald Smith, the new managing director, was soon the past managing director. He virtually disappeared from the Playhouse, with little explanation. The position needed to be filled quickly, so the board turned to Lynn Nelson Rafferty to move in as new managing director. Rafferty knew the Playhouse well and was an obvious choice to fill the void. When she took over, however, the theater was $200,000 in debt and it needed some fast cash before more serious problems set in. Grants helped, but did not provide the funding that was sorely needed. Some of that funding would come from a blockbuster hit to start the 71st season, A Chorus Line. Last staged at the Playhouse in 1986, this version was bolstered by strong talent. Directed by David Gendry, names like Paul Ryan Byrne, Michael Cavalier, Tim Falter, Jane Hill, and Gina Mascarella lit up the Playhouse stage at each performance. Meanwhile, the Playhouse Youth Theater was doing their part. Increased activity from the youth theater saw 250 young people take part in productions, with more than 300 students in theater-related classes. The youth theater was bringing theater to more than 40,000 children and adults in the area. But Youngstown was still on a downhill slide. Unemployment was increasing and downtown Youngstown was becoming a virtual ghost town. The only good economic news at that time was the construction of the new maximum security prison on Youngstown's east side. In an effort to stimulate ticket sales, Rafferty entered into a collaboration with Maureen Collins, Todd Hancock, and Easy Street Productions. Collins and Hancock would serve as music directors and artistic directors for the 3 major musicals that season. During that summer, however, with responsibilities increasing for Rafferty, the decision was made to hire a permanent artistic director by the name of David Vosberg, who had recently guest directed Rehearsal for Murder. Vosberg's hiring somewhat complicated the arrangement made with Easy Street Productions. Although still on board, Easy Street's input was viewed as somewhat more limited. Despite any limitations, however, season 72 started on a strong note, with Easy Street serving up a strong production of the popular musical The Music Man. The 3-weekend run played to solid audiences. Easy Street would follow that with another crowd pleaser, Annie, again playing to sell out crowds. Sandwiched in between these blockbusters would be the start of a popular annual fundraiser, Arts Alive. Usually staged at the Butler Institute for American Art, Arts Alive gave life to famous paintings by having actors recreate famous artwork. Youngstown, however, could not mirror the successes at the Playhouse. Crime in the city was higher than ever, along with a crushing poverty level. Jobs were continuing to decline over the entire area. All of this was taking its toll on Playhouse ticket sales. But as smoothly as Easy Street moved into the Playhouse, they seemed to exit just as quickly by the summer of 1996. Little was actually known for their exit, although rumors of disagreement between Easy Street and the Playhouse have been blamed. Rafferty had high praises for Easy Street and credited them for pulling the Playhouse out of their huge debt.
I actually had a season here that I was kind of, at least I was in charge of that. Again, I don't think they wanted to give me a title, I think they were afraid of that, but yeah, for a season, Easy Street and the Playhouse did a season together, and we brought back some of our that's that picture back there of Music Man. We brought back some of the, what we thought would be big hits for them, and they all were. We did Music Man. We opened with Music Man. I think it sold out for 3 weeks. We did Annie. Followed that, we added a week, so that sold out for 4 weeks. Then we did our Miracle on Easy Street on stage, and that sold out for 2 weeks. So we had like 7-8 weeks in a row that just, it was full. And then we did a little show that no one had really heard of back then. I mean, 30 years ago was Into the Woods. It was new. It was like just in release, so we did that with a wonderful cast.
Easy Street put the Playhouse back on firm ground during their time there. Records indicate that Easy Street sold out 30 consecutive performances during the first 4 months of the season. That includes the balcony, making for a capacity of 624 seats. With the balcony no longer in use, Easy Street still unofficially holds the sellout record at the Playhouse. As the season ended, however, and the warm months of summer weakened for fall, another Playhouse legend would pass into history. Phoebe Mae Woodward Alexander passed away on August 29, 1996. Alexander had become one of the pillars of the Playhouse over her many years at the theater. Her contributions to the theater were many, as she also found time to appear professionally with the Kenley Players and in films and commercials. Despite the loss of Alexander, the Playhouse seemed to be enjoying a boom at the box office, with very successful productions of Fiddler on the Roof, Hello Dolly, South Pacific, and Greater Tuna. Some semblance of the old days seemed to be returning. But prosperity in Youngstown was customarily short-lived. Delphi Packard closed their Cortland plant, thus adding to the unemployment woes of an already sinking city. As season 74 began in September of 1997, a new threat was being voiced by supposed experts. Y2K was approaching. With the arrival of the year 2000, dire predictions were flooding the airwaves that all computers would crash with the beginning of the new century. David Vosberg now moved into the position of managing director, replacing Lynn Nelson Rafferty following her resignation. Vosberg kept the Playhouse busy. There was very little downtime, with productions happening somewhere in the building on a regular basis. New faces appeared on the Playhouse stage, and ticket sales seemed to be gaining momentum. With Y2K getting closer, no one was quite sure what to expect. As January 2000 came to the Youngstown Playhouse, the last night of Ballyhoo would be the first show of the new decade. But what was even better was the fact that Y2K never took place, anywhere. Years of media panic fizzled in the early morning hours of the new century. What didn't fizzle was the show on stage at the Playhouse, which served as the area premiere for Molly Galano, soon to become a rising Playhouse star.
I'm here tonight because it means everything to me. This building was where I came. My dear friend Bentley Lenhoff every night would wait with me right at these doors until my father picked me up. He worked at the Empire Club, which was at the corner of Glenwood, and he would work till 11:30, and God love, Bentley would sit here and just talk to me about all his great stories, and I continue to come back here. It really gave me the love of theater that I have today.
I grew up here a lot, actually. This was an oasis for me when I was a kid, and now it's something that I will contribute to every single day of my life. I'll do anything I can to make sure that it keeps going for another 100 years.
With the new decade, however, changes would continue at the Playhouse. David Vosberg would leave the theater for unknown reasons. The public story was that he was leaving to go back on tour in a production of Parade. But as usual, other stories swirled around his departure. He would be replaced by Robert Vargo, who had built a substantial reputation at both the Playhouse and Woodrow Wilson High School. Vargo's stipulations for the job were simple. He would be paid $1 a year, which included the directing of 2 shows. If he had to direct more than that, he would be paid for them. He would also select all of the productions to be produced. From all accounts, the board voted their approval. Before Vargo took the reins at the Playhouse, however, the board of directors made a very tenuous decision. The theater was in dire need of money to pay bills. To gain access to the needed capital, they mortgaged the Playhouse to the tune of $300,000. It seemed like a good move at the time, but time had a different idea as the years passed. Vargo would initiate the Summer Sun series of musicals, which began in the summer of 2000. As the summer moved into fall, Damn Yankees would open the 77th season in 2000, with Michael J. Moritz Jr. doing his first Playhouse show as musical director. By this time, Vargo had trimmed the size of the Playhouse board from the high 30s to just 12, making for a much more manageable governing body and one that could raise needed finances. As January 2001 enveloped Youngstown, many things were happening at the Playhouse. Congressman James A. Trafficant Jr. secured funding of $2 million toward revitalizing the Playhouse Lane Theater. As Laughter on the 23rd Floor hit the stage that month, it would see the Playhouse premiere of David L. Hatton in his first Playhouse stage role. But Trafficant's effort couldn't derail the inevitable. The mortgaging of the theater now became a crisis. The Playhouse fell behind in the payments to the amount of $250,000. The bank was now screaming for their money, and Vargo's best efforts to stall them were not enough. All was not lost, however, as the city of Youngstown agreed to loan the theater the necessary capital so they could make the payment, and also agreed to lower the amount owed to $100,000. The Playhouse would now own the building once again, free and clear. Happiness was short-lived, however, as the entire country came to a standstill on September the 11th, 2001, as terrorists attacked the World Trade Center in New York, the Pentagon in Washington, and an aborted attack on the White House, killing thousands of Americans. All of a sudden, theater has very little importance. But theater thrives during bad times. It is a therapeutic remedy for the rough times, and it provides the much-needed escape to help people cope. And what was on tap at the Playhouse was viewed as a reinvigoration of the old theater on Playhouse Lane. Part of the plans for the Playhouse included the Millennium Performance Park at Playhouse Lane. This would include a remodeled lobby, a new office wing, and the new Adler Arena Theater. The new theater would be built in the empty lot next door to the Playhouse and would serve multiple functions.
The design I did was the arena would now become office space. We'd fill it in, and it became the office suite. So we did a state-of-the-art office suite, as you know. Office for youth theater, office for managing director, a blind and an office behind for the box office manager, a culture room, we call it, with a copy machine and mailboxes. Remember all that? Mm-hmm. And a meeting room in the back that the board could meet in and that the orchestra could assemble in, and then a separate entrance to the pit from the office. All because I'd seen it 100 times, working all the theaters over the years. Right. Best way to do that. So anyway, that was my design. So I said, here's what we're going to do. I'm sitting with the architects now. I said, I want to level off the arena. It'll no longer be the arena, and I want to put an office suite in there, blah, blah, blah. I just went through that with you. And then as you come into the theater now, I want all that space cleared out so we have a nice open space to the Moyer room, and then up the steps to the main theater where we are now, and then to the right, I'm going to break through that wall, and the new arena will be to the right of the building. And it'll be 4 times the size of the current arena. You'd come in the building. The idea of moving the arena was you'd come in the building and you'd get your ticket at the box office, which was now right there, very convenient, and you'd go upstairs to the main theater here where we are, and you'd see your musical. And then you'd get your ticket and you'd go across the lobby to the right and you'd go into the new arena and you'd see your show in the round or 3/4, whatever it was designed to be. And I also designed an entrance from the dressing rooms with a catwalk across so that you could use the dressing rooms here and cross through that wall and go down the steps and be in the arena. Now that served a lot of purposes. First of all, it was larger, so you could do more ambitious things in it. You could do theater and around, and you could have people sitting all over the place. You could get hundreds of people in there. It would be 4 times larger. And that's that entire space next to the theater, which is now empty, was to be that. Plus, in the back, I designed an outdoor Greek-style theater. that would have seated 150. Right, you'd go right through the Moyer room, through the back door, and you would be entering the stage performance area of this sort of Greek theater design. So not only did we have a better, bigger arena theater, a smarter one, but now we had an additional small theater. Let's say youth theater wanted to do something as like an original play or something that wasn't big budget. They could just do it in that space. So now we had 3 performance spaces, each separate from the other, and each not, you could do things at the same time. And that was the plan for the arena. Now,
But the controversial part of the project was the elimination of the existing arena theater. It would be filled with gravel to make way for the new office wing to be located over the arena's former location. Amid the renovations, the season moved on with productions of Romeo and Juliet, Amadeus, and Chess, all seeming to attract considerable audiences. Unfortunately, however, good fortune at the Playhouse did not spill over to Youngstown, as Far More, once the pride of the city, announced that it would close all of its stores nationwide in the next 6 to 10 weeks. The theater would suffer its own loss prior to the opening of season 79, with the passing of Playhouse icon John Griffith. In many ways, Griffith had been the face of the Playhouse for many years. Through countless memorable roles on stage to his work in the community, Griffith helped to build the Playhouse to its present stature. With renovations continuing, the often heard phrase which frequently rang out at the Youngstown Playhouse was America's oldest ongoing community theater. This statement, however, wasn't really accurate since the Footlight Club in Jamaica Plain, Massachusetts had been in continuous operation since 1877. But regardless, the Youngstown Playhouse was certainly one of the oldest community theaters in operation in the U.S. John Maluso would now pick up the reins of board president, with the departure of current president John Moyer. As the season continued, past accusations would still haunt the Playhouse. Complaints of pre-casting of shows and the existence of a hierarchy of individuals privy to acting and directing assignments were still prevalent.
Community theater should always be a very welcoming place to everybody. And I think everybody should be given opportunities. And there was a period of time, and it was really disconcerting to me. I just really not happy about it. There was a period of time when it was like a stock theater, it was cliquish. The people here would cast their own friends, they would cast themselves, and it was like, oh, come on, that's not what this is all about. And one of the things I'm really proud of my brother for, and Bernie Appleese before him, is they're really interested in getting new blood in here. They're going to the university, they're going out into the community, they're doing a lot of advertising, and they're getting directors in here who are open to casting these people. It's terrific.
A new rumor would join the old ones. The news that the Playhouse was considering a move to the Old State Theater in downtown Youngstown, relegating the current theater to a storage facility. Plans for such a move were very short-lived, however, with the State Theater being in such poor condition that any renovation of it would be prohibitive. Idora Park would be celebrated by the Playhouse with a production of an original show, Idora Forever. Interest was always high in Youngstown for anything pertaining to the legendary amusement park, but Idora Forever would get the wrong kind of attention. During early rehearsals for the show, Robert Vargo would abruptly resign as the managing director of the Playhouse, signing conflicts with the board. Although the show would still go on, the Playhouse would now install a new managing director in the person of Michael J. Moritz Jr. Reportedly, Vargo's contract was up with Idora Forever, but he offered to stay an additional year for the same $1 per year, as long as the board spent the year raising money. The board refused. With Vargo's departure, things soured quickly at the theater. the board assumed more and more control over all aspects of the theater, igniting problems with the new managing director and actors at the theater. An internal power struggle was raging within the board itself. Cuts were made to the quality of productions, and a wholesale trashing of valuable costumes created conflict in every area of the theater. To make things worse, Moritz and Playhouse president John Maluso seldom saw eye to eye on any issue. With relations straining to the breaking point between the two, Moritz would resign as managing director. With no replacement being named, it was now management by committee. The Playhouse staff had now shrunk to 2 people, and the promised new arena theater had not even broken ground. And the yearly Arthur Awards were discontinued, adding to the dark cloud over the theater. The situation was more dire than it had ever been in its history. They teetered on the brink of closing their doors. According to reports, ample money still remained at Vargo's departure to finish all construction that still needed to be done. The money, however, $600,000, swiftly disappeared. Some say it was used to pay Playhouse bills, while others speculated that it was spirited out of the account to an unknown location. In an attempt to right the ship, an invitation was extended to former executive director Bentley Lenhoff to attend the next board meeting to see if anything could be done to save the faltering theater. What ensued would only throw gasoline on an already smoldering fire.